I always take pleasure in sharing inspirational stories because I know of the impact they're going to have in people's lives. Now, today's episode is one that you need to look out for because Purity Museo, my guest today, shares her story of how she started as a house girl to being a TV girl and eventually receiving a presidential award. Big, right? She's going to share her journey with us as she also tells us how a miscarriage saved her marriage. My name is Susan Grace and welcome to this episode of A Woman's Journal. You know, there's a famous quote that says, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, makes Purity and Susan dull girls. So as usual, before we get into the deep and serious stuff, we're going to play a little game. Again, this is just a little icebreaker to see how well we know each other. To get to know each other before we get into the interview.
Sure.
So, but before we get into it, Purity, let me just give you this opportunity to first introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and we'll take it from there.
All right.
Yes.
First, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Purity Museo Nzuki. I'm a mom of one beautiful daughter.
Yeah.
She's called Loveline. I'm a wife, and most importantly, I'm a communications expert. Most people will look at me and say she looks familiar because I've been a media personality since 2016. I've been a news anchor since 2016. I started at Ebru TV, went to KBC, and then to KTN until December 2023 when I decided to just take the career break and build my own media empire, which I know we'll be talking more about.
Yeah.
Yes.
What she's not mentioning is that she's an award-winning reporter. You got the presidential award.
Yes.
How was that like?
Yes.
How did you feel?
I mean, most of the time, there's that notion out here that you must know somebody to know who knows somebody who knows somebody to get some of these recognitions. But let me take you back to where I was passionate about health reporting.
Okay.
On how I won the award.
Yes.
My passion about health reporting, it's because I lost my mom from misdiagnosis. So I decided to really research on why my mom was walking around with a catheter and her death certificate was written pneumonia. So from that, and as a journalist, I started doing my research and I realized there are so many miscommunications and misdiagnoses, different health professionals who are not qualified offering, and you've had stories of quacks and all that.
Yeah.
So that's how I got passionate. On COVID reporting, I was just reporting on COVID because again, it was a disease that people are saying, do you know somebody who knows somebody who has COVID? So I wanted to make awareness that indeed there's COVID. So I would go into isolation wards, talk to people who are sick and all that. So before I knew it, I didn't know I was literally a COVID hero, making people aware that indeed COVID is there and let's put on our mask. So that's how I got the presidential recognition by President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2020 for ensuring that through my reporting, people could put on their masks, sanitize and wash their hands.
I love that. And
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
So before we get into the serious stuff, we're going to have a look at these cards. They have interesting random questions which we're going to ask. By the way, ignore the background noise. Kids are just, being kids. By the way, one of my resolutions for this year was learning how to swim, and this is God sending me a sign. But anyway, Preeti, let me ask you the first question.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned the hard way?
Wow. Lessons that I've learned the hard way. The first one on being independent, for example. I was this spoiled as a last born, and you're there with your mom, she's providing everything. I'm just not concerned why I should go to school and all that, and then suddenly she dies.
Oh, no.
And as a girl, she died when I was in Form 3 going to Form 4, and that time girl child education was not being taken seriously, so there was no one to pay for my school fees. I requested the principal at Bishop Gatimu to allow me go through Form 4, and she allowed me. But then after Form 4, I realized I'm still on my own. And I'm a last born. I'm not used to being independent and responsible. So I now had to figure out how do I go to campus? How do I do this? That's when I decided to look for a job as a house help and get money to take me to campus because, hey, life must go on.
Right?
Yes.
We're going to talk about that later. Do you have one for me?
Yes.
We're going to do like 3.
Okay. So, describe one thing about you that is misunderstood by your friends.
Oh, I feel like there could be a list. One thing that is misunderstood. I think looking back, maybe especially when I was struggling with my mental health, especially in campus and post-campus, I think a lot of people always thought I'm okay because I'm so extroverted, so loud, so out there, such a people's person. And I think people always assumed that I was okay, but deep down, it was my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think also till date, people misunderstand my extrovertedness and all this bubbliness and being a people's people to be availability. People tend to assume I'm always available. Yeah. Like, Nico too, just call me whenever. But I think people assume I don't have boundaries. I do. I promise.
I thank God you are. I'm the opposite of you, but now being a business owner, you just forced to be an extrovert. But each time I'm in a meeting, I'm like, when do I go back home? Just
I can imagine me. I love being around people so much. Oh, this is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Have you ever done something out of revenge? What did you do and why?
Actually, have done not one. So
okay, girl.
So many things, and one of them, I'll call it a good revenge. I'll call it a good revenge because I was born and raised up in the village. So when I was coming to Nairobi, I had all the Kamba accent, and so at Ebru, I remember at some point I was pulled out of screen because
of the
accent. So I said, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to learn how to, So I would read a lot of novels, do a lot of narrations. And do you know what? I ended up being one of the top news anchors, and not just actually in Kenya.
In
2021, I was crowned as Africa's best media personality of the year.
Wow.
In awards in Zambia. And this person that was pulling me off screen, after Ebru, they have never been on TV again.
Ooh, I think the best revenge is the silent one, where you're like, oh, mesema niko hivyo.
You say this.
I
won't question. It's okay.
Sawa. Whatever you say, then God is like,
yes,
boom. I love that.
Now we are here.
Look at you now.
And she's still there.
Yeah.
But I've never talked about her. I've never wanted to engage her in any way. I've never discussed her. I've never wished her bad things. But the revenge was like, I'm going to be better than you think you are. I know you could be privileged because you went to group of schools, you lived probably in Nairobi, you have the best English, but nothing is temporary. I think my English is better now.
Girl, it is.
Yes.
You can do one.
Yes.
One last one, then I think we'll do the last one to Kimaliza.
Yeah. So, no, let me not ask you this. It's very controversial.
Okay.
But since you're an extrovert, have you ever had a call to... Have you ever had to call emergency services? If so, what for?
Nope.
No.
Never. By God's grace, never.
By God's grace, yeah. We thank God for that.
Yeah.
Then let me ask this. If you could relive one day...
If I could relive one day, which one would it
just
be?
one day, which should it be and why?
Like a day I would go back to and live it again?
Yes.
Well. There are a couple. I think the first day I joined NTV, I was very, very excited. I was very happy. I was very humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one that comes at the top of my mind. I'm sure there's another one. Nikikumbuka nitakwambia.
Maybe one that you feel that here I messed up. So if I could relive it, I would do better.
Oh, like I can go back and correct.
Yes.
You know what, to be honest, I think it would be the night my mom passed away.
Yeah.
When she passed away, I really struggled with a lot of denial because I'm like, I could have done something, you know. So maybe during that week, because she was a bit unwell, and I kept telling her, you need to go to hospital, you need to go get checked. And she's just like, I'm a bit fine. So for a while, I kept thinking, if I could go back to that day, I would have pushed her more to go to hospital, get checked, and then maybe she would have been better, maybe she'd still be around.
Yeah.
But then, mambo ya Mungu ni mambo ya Mungu. When God has said it's time, we can't fight it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We'll do one last one when we finish. Okay. But girl, her story is, I don't know, from house help to a whole award-winning journalist who has been shaking the president's hand. Girl. How, I mean, but you did give me a little bit of a background. It's when you finished your high school and you had to look for money to pay for your primary, for your secondary.
Yeah.
Is it secondary? No, campus.
Campus, yeah.
How was that like?
First, it was tough because my mom died when I was going to Form 4. So when I went back to school in January, because she died in November, funny enough, we buried her a day after my birthday. So we were transporting her body home on my birthday.
Oh no.
Yeah, she died in Mombasa. That's where she used to work. So she died on the 14th of November 2009, and so the burial was on the 28th of November, and so that means we had to travel on Friday night, which is 27th, which is my birthday. Yeah. So I was so devastated, asking God, what kind of a birthday gift is this? You understand? But anyway, back to your story. So after I went back to school, I don't want to blame, that there are people who are very grace bitter about their background, or the people that come from the same village with them, or their family members. I am not bitter about my family, because I come from rural places where girl child education was not very important, and so you can't blame them for not paying your school fees. And after my mom died, we were staying with our grandparents. Of course, my grandmother's never gone to school. She doesn't understand why a girl should go to school beyond class 8 or even finish class 8, get married. That's what they know. So I couldn't blame them. But since my mom was working in Mombasa, at least we were privileged of sometimes when you close school, we would visit her. So I was privileged to see a different kind of life. And how I wanted to become a journalist. I saw a story on news in Turkana where women and children are dying of malnutrition. And I was like, hunger, but that's what we go through back at home and nobody cares. So I realized it's because there was a reporter who was here to highlight their story. So I said, I'll also be a reporter to also highlight the story of my people. So when my mom died in 2009, and I was going to Form 4, I went back to school, but I had said I don't want to go back to the village because of fear of being married, because my cousins had dropped out of school because of early pregnancies and all that, so I was afraid. What I did, I used to stay in school. When it's like a short break, I stay in school. One of the teachers came from my home, so I would stay in her house. She's called Miss Matei. We used to call her Miss Matei, but she's now married. I think she's still in that school. On long holidays, sometimes I would visit my mom's friend, best friend. She's called Pauline, in Nairobi. But then after we finished Form 4, so I was like, Mombasa was the only place I was familiar with because I used to visit there frequently. So I went back to Mombasa, stayed. That time my auntie had a house still in Mombasa, but she had relocated to Germany. But then that house was not going to be available soon. So after staying there, I had to now start looking for friends, because church mates. So I would stay here today, tomorrow here, like that. Then at some point I checked in a children's home. I'm over 18, so that lady was like, I'll only house you, but I can't give you food because the sponsors will ask questions, which of course I understood. But that time you're desperate, you just want a place you can sleep and all that. So while I was trying to struggle like that, one of the church members told me, by the way, there's an Egyptian who is married to a Kikuyu lady. They're looking for a house help. Would you be interested? I said, of course. Because this time now I have a place to stay, but I have nowhere to eat. So I knew, if I go here, I'll get some money and I'll also get a place I can eat, because sleeping, I can sleep anywhere. So that's how I became a house help. It was after Form 4. And before I made that decision, the results had come out, and I think I had missed an A- with a point. I had missed, and like all that stress, and I managed to pass. So I was qualified because I wanted to do journalism. I checked around and I knew I was qualified to do journalism at Moi University. But now my friends were telling me, yes, you can apply for help, but that money is never available during the first semester. So you have to look for money. So that's how I became a house help. Yeah. So I was being paid 5,000 shillings every month, and I worked there for I think around 7-8 months before, because it was around 6 months. Then we were supposed to go to school in January. My money was not enough, and then God did a miracle. The school announced that we will reopen. We will join our campus in April, so I had more time to get enough money. So I left that place, and then I went to school in Moi University, that's in Eldoret. Then that time I made Moi University my home, because I literally don't have a home.
Yeah.
I don't have a place I can go. So I was just, every time I'm praying that let's not have a strike where you're abruptly closing school, because where do I go?
Where do you go?
Because before we close, I have to call, hey, a friend, can I come and stay with you? So now if you are told the school is closed indefinitely, who do I start calling? So I was always praying that let's not close school indefinitely. And it really worked. Yeah, I think that's for being a house help. Then after campus, I went to stay with our pastor. I requested if I can now stay with them. I stayed with them for some time. I took some teaching jobs in some school in Mtwapa. But then I was feeling that my destiny is in Nairobi. So I had to move it to Nairobi. Yeah.
And I know around the same time your mom passed away, I think your brothers went looking for your dad.
Yes.
And then they dropped a bombshell that your father had passed away 2 years ago.
Yes.
Walk me through that.
Now, my mom was transferred to Kilifi Hospital. She was in Jocham Hospital. And the moment they transferred, because Jocham, if you do a background, is a very good hospital, then they're transferring her to. So I knew something is off. My mom might not make it. The doctors can't tell. So that's one Saturday morning. We used to do like a shift. Today you're going to see her, tomorrow. So for me, I had seen her on a Thursday. Then my brother, I have a twin brother, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a twin brother.
Identical?
I would say identical, just that he's the male version of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. So when my mom died, we were so desperate. We were like, so now what next? So that day on Saturday, I went to see my mom on Thursday. Then she was so like in high spirit. And then she was like, in case we don't see each other, I was like, no, I'll come again on Saturday morning, because on Friday it was my brother was going to see her. So on Saturday we went, and we were just told like she just died like a few seconds. Like she just died. No, we were just there, confused, everything. And so like my brothers were like, okay, you just go and try look for dad. Yeah, because they had separated. But then you see now you're desperate, you're like, hey, you can't imagine how you're going to survive alone. Yeah. So my dad was in Navy, so they used to also live in Mombasa. So they said, okay. So they left us at the mortuary, and then they went to look for dad. So I kept calling. I'm like anxious. Have you found dad? I kept calling. And then my brother is like, don't worry. And then they're trying to be strong for me.
Yeah. Or did they know the whole time?
No, after they went, now it's when they were told.
Okay.
Yeah, your father died 2 years ago. Ouch. So I kept calling them, like, have you found him? Can I come? They're like, no, we are coming. We are coming home. So now when they came home, are like, okay, dad died in 2007. Like the way you can just like be like, am I numb? Is it a dream? Is it, I couldn't even cry. You could be in pain until you can't even cry. Yeah. Like I thought I've been taken, I'm in another world. And so maybe I can sleep and wake up to the reality that everything is just okay. Yeah. So now I'm processing that. Dad died. He was buried without our knowledge. I didn't even bury him. We knew each other. We had a relationship. So I was just dead. Yeah. I felt like there's no world, there's no hope, there's nothing. So that's how the reality of now you're orphaned, you have to be on your own. If you want a future, you have to be on your own, because we don't come from like a well-off family. Actually, I think my mom was the one who was taking care of the larger people in the family. So you can't keep on not telling people help, and they were also being helped. Yeah. So that's when everyone now had to look for their own ways of surviving. Yeah.
Do you think you grieved your mom well? Because now she just passed away. There's this bombshell of your father passing away.
I did not, because when mom passed on, okay, I'm not bitter, but I feel like we didn't get the right support that we needed, because that time I was still young. I was around 16, 17, I can't understand why it was me and my auntie who are going to check if she's okay in the mortuary. So you can imagine every day you're going to view your mom's body, so that, because she's in a public mortuary, so that her body is not rotten, she's taken care of, And then also you're the one going to, can you imagine going to shop for your mom's coffin?
Coffin, dress.
Yeah, can you imagine?
shoes.
Yeah. As in, people should have supported. Yeah, but I don't know what was happening. I really can't blame anyone. I don't know. Probably there were no people, there were no family, because there are some that came, but they never came again. There are some that came, then there was a bit of, do I say a small fight or something, because they wanted her body to be transferred to Mombasa. They said Kilifi was far, and so my family was like, no, she'll be taken care of here. So I think that's why, like, they felt going from Mombasa to Kilifi is far. So it was just like us, the children, who were just going there to see her body. And so now with all that, you can't mourn.
You can't,
You can't.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, because the nurses were telling us you have to come every day, because otherwise you'll find her body is rotten. So that's the last thing you want for a woman who has worked so hard to
keep you and your
to
brother.
even take me through school when girls don't go to school. So I don't think I mourned her. I was bitter, and that time I don't think I had built my character. I think that's where my character of being introverted
came in.
Yeah, I just started keeping everything to myself, just keeping quiet. I don't talk. And even like when we were going home, it's like literally you imagine a 16-year-old. You're the one going to shop for your mom's coffin, for the clothes, for everything. I became bitter. Let me say I became bitter. I became numb. I didn't cry. Even when we went to bury her, of course I didn't go to view the body, because I've been seeing this body every day in the mortuary. So we buried, and then life was very hard after we buried our mom. Like I have explained to you, life life was very hard for me. So I'm just trying to be like, Mom, for your sake, I'm not going to drop out of school because of pregnancy. For your sake, I'm going to make sure I am, because I even actually had shared my dream with her of being a news anchor, and she was like, I don't know how God had given her, and she had not even like gone to school a lot, but she was like, you have beautiful legs, you have, she was complimenting me and telling me, yes, you can do it, because at first I was like, I want to be a hostess. Then she was just supporting me. Then I was like, I want to be a news anchor, and she was like, you can do it. So each time we went to Mombasa, she would dedicate like a whole day, like today is Purity and TV, she needs to watch news, she needs to do this. I shared that dream with her. So I said I'm going to do what it takes to make sure I am a news anchor, and not just like to appear on screen, of course, making an impact, doing stories that make change in the society. So I think I came to mourn my mom
later.
Recently. Recently when I had my daughter is when now I came to mourn my mom, because I was telling God, make sure my daughter doesn't have to go through what I've gone through. Because even like doing a wedding and none of your parents are there. So that's when now there was a time actually I wept and I knew, I think this is the time I'm mourning my mom.
When you talked about doing a wedding and not having parents there, I think it just hit me in the chest, because that's usually one of my fears as well. When I think about my wedding day, I'm like, I think I'm going to get so emotional, not because I'm getting married, but because my mom is not here. My father has also never been in the picture. Maybe he'll be in the picture. I don't know. But I don't know. It's going to be okay. What about your dad? Did you ever go to like visit his gravesite? Or?
So now, when we were little, I think before going to school, our grandmother came and they had their own, I'm young, I don't know what was happening, but they had separated. But so our mom, my dad comes from Machakos County, as we come from Mwingi. It's very far. Actually, a place called Sekuru. It's far. I think our nearest place is Garissa. Yeah, it's that far. You can I think you can walk to Garissa from. Yeah. And we also border Tharaka and Meru on the other side. Yeah. it's very far. So we went to stay with our grandmother. And that's where the disconnection came in. But each time we went to Mombasa, we would meet. Yeah, we would meet. But it got to a point where I think since that 2007, we didn't see him again. And then, so that means we had never known where he came from. We had never gone to, I heard it's Kangundo.
Yeah.
We had never gone to where he had come from. And they had their own differences with our mom. I don't know whether my mom knew that our dad had died. I don't know. But they said they had told her. You know, you can't, So after that, like for me as a girl, I've never like gone to look for where my dad, but my brother went recently. My brother went and he told me that he found where our dad comes from. And then also, funny enough, also January this year, my dad's brother reached out to me on Facebook. Like, my name is so-and-so. Of course, he has my dad's name.
Yeah.
I'm your dad's brother, what. So, yeah, we are planning a meeting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, at least I go and see where he was buried.
And get some closure.
Yeah, and get some closure.
Okay. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Fast forward to 2023.
Yeah.
There's a post you put out on LinkedIn that really stood out for me when you said how a miscarriage you experienced saved your marriage.
Yeah.
And I know this happened, it was in 2023 on a fateful Thursday. Walk me through that day.
Wow. So now we did our wedding in 2022. That's not actually on my birthday. We did our wedding on my birthday.
I mean, look at it. You earlier on, you're telling me how your mom passed away on your birthday.
Yeah, like
you got married on your wedding.
Let me
Was it
tell
intentional?
you, November is like it's a crazy month for me. I was born on November 27. My mom died on November 14. My mom was buried on November 28. I got married on November 27 on my birthday. And even the miscarriage that I had, the due date was November.
What?
Sometime 26, 27, there. Yes.
Those are too many coincidences.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
And my husband, his birthday is November 30th. 3 days after mine.
A lot of November going on in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after our wedding, like for me, I've grown up alone and all that. So I've always been like, you see the way you pray God, I want a family.
Yeah.
And I want a big family. Like I'm still like, I was telling my husband I want many babies. I don't know how many, but I want many babies. So after we got married, of course we were ready for a child.
Yes.
Yeah, not just because of age. We were just like, I was just like, we were
Ready
both
for
psychologically ready for family. So we saw our gyna and we struggled to get pregnant. I think we got pregnant on our 7th month. Like we tried for literally like 6-7 months before we got pregnant. Then after we got pregnant, I was still working and all that. So at 8 weeks, which is 2 months, like it was a Thursday, I went to the office, then I just drove home. So by the time I'm getting home, I saw some blood. And you see, like when you're pregnant, you Google a lot. So for me, I was like, maybe it's implantation, blood.
Implantation.
Like some blood may appear when
you're still pregnant.
When you like the baby or the egg, and after fertilization, is trying now to attach itself now on the walls of the uterus. That's what implantation is. Okay. So I had Googled and it was like some women experience bleeding during implantation. So I just sat down and then the bleeding was not stopping. So, and then I got, they were like, somebody tells, I think something is wrong. So after like 10 minutes, I decided to tell my doctor, I am bleeding. So I called him, I told him, okay, I am bleeding. Is it normal? Then doctor was like, every bleeding during pregnancy is not normal. So, come to the hospital. So I told my husband, he was at work. He rushed home. We went to the hospital. Then we went to the hospital. I was checked. When you're like miscarrying, the uterus starts to open. Yeah. So I was checked, and the doctor said the uterus is already closed, which is a good sign. So we were like, okay, let's keep monitoring. So we went back home at around 9 p.m. Then the pain grew from bad to worse. It was bad. I couldn't lift my head. So I told my husband, no, I can't deal with this, because you're doing painkillers and you still you in pain. So we went back to the hospital. at night. Then the doctor came at night. Like, you have such a wonderful doctor.
Yeah.
He came at around 2 a.m. Then like I was put like even morphine, and the pain is unbearable. Then in the morning, he said now the uterus is open, so it means that you're miscarrying. Sorry about that. I mean, it was so sad. Yeah, it was so sad. Like, it reminded me of my mom. Then we called him. He has his both parents who are very supportive and loving and caring. So he called them. They were sad. They came over. Yeah, so we grieved. We grieved. You know, people will tell you. Let me tell you, Grace. People, you know, the African culture is not very kind. They'll say, it's a baby you had never seen. You know, so.
It's not really.
So it's not.
The
it's not what. Let me tell you, the connection you establish the moment you get pregnant.
From the moment you conceive.
From the moment you conceive.
Yeah.
As it doesn't matter whether you've miscarried at 6 months or at 3 months or at 2 months.
Yeah.
It's painful. I mean, I went into depression. My husband too. And then we are both introverts. Okay. So when our parents came, they're elderly. We didn't want to show them we are stressed.
So you had to be strong.
So you had to be strong for them. So after 2 days, they went back home because they saw, these children are okay. They went back home. Then we were just there. Waking up in the morning, everybody's crying. I wake up in the morning, I'm telling him, where's my baby? You know, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm not craving. Why am I not feeling dizzy? Why am I not having my heartburns? You know, it was just sad. Then we went back to the hospital. Like, everyone, like, he took some days off. I also took some days off. And then we started praying together. We now started like doing Bible study together. That's when I say like it brought us together. We started doing things together. Then the doctor advised us to even like take some holiday, do what. So that's when we realized that, like, you know, sometimes you will not see a man's weakness. Like, my husband was crying and he was in so much pain. You could tell, you could see. So we started doing things together. And then I think that's how we healed. Yeah, we were just like happy people watching movie together, playing together. We even bought some cards like these ones. And we realized, wow, God has really, we realized that we were not that close before. Everyone would just like, you know, we are career people. Everyone would just like go to work, come, sleep, wake up tomorrow and all that. But I realized how kind he is. He realized like how passionate I am, for example. So the doctor told us to try again after 3 months, which we did. And our first try, of course, we got pregnant again. And so, of course, it was not also an easy pregnancy because I was put on a total bed rest. The doctor didn't want to take chances this time. I also didn't want to take chance. So I went on a total bed rest. That's when I quit my job at Standard because I said, no, let me first deal with this. Let me take care of, because at some point, Grace, you know our job as journalists,
it's quite demanding.
Standing all the time. So,
up and about,
at some point I
stories.
blamed myself of the miscarriage. I thought maybe I was working too hard. You know, sometimes I blamed. So when we got pregnant again, I said, you know what? Let me take the career break. Let me take care of this pregnancy. And she's 9 months now.
She's 9 months now. But I think somewhere in your pregnancy, you started bleeding again and you thought, oh no.
Yes. Not again. Yes. Now, exactly at 8 weeks again, I saw the blood again. I remember I went to the bathroom and then there's blood. I screamed. I said, Jesus, no. Like, you see, like, you're like, no. Like, I'm shouting, no. And then I called my husband. And then I prayed. And then I was calm. And then I first told my doctor. Then the doctor is like, just give it like 5 minutes. But when it stops, let me know. I think this time I don't know. I think something told him it's going to stop. I don't know. But you still have to come to the hospital. I told my husband. He was so stressed. Like, I had even him cry on the phone. Then he was like, I'm coming. So I just went to lie down, and after like 5 minutes, it stopped. The bleeding stopped. So I kept, confirming. Like, I can't believe it. I kept confirming. Then it stopped. So by the time my husband was coming, it had stopped, and I was not like in pain. But the doctor insisted we go to the hospital. So we went. We did a scan, everything. The baby was fine. So he said it's a delicate pregnancy. So that means I need to be on total bed rest.
Bed rest.
Total bed rest. So that's when like we even had discussed about it with my husband that, you know what, let me just stay at home and take care of this pregnancy. So it was tough. Like you know, like every time, like you even having nightmares of bleeding.
Bleeding, yeah.
So each time, like I rush to the toilet and I'm like, okay, I'm not bleeding. Then I even check the tissue. I'm like, even ask myself, do you think this is blood? Like, okay, no, it's not blood. It was then each time, like we are going to the hospital, we had to do a scan. The doctor's like, these are so many scans. I say, no, let's just do.
Just
it's
to
fine.
be safe,
Yeah, let's just do. So it was also a delicate pregnancy. The baby came early because I remember on this random Sunday, we went for a checkup, and then the baby, I was at 7 weeks, but the baby was still small. So the doctor said the baby is tired. We have to deliver now. So that's how I was booked into a theater. And yeah, she came out well. She gained within 6 weeks. I would say like she had doubled her weight. Yeah. Even the doctor was, shocked that most babies after birth, they lose weight, but mine had doubled.
There's something the Bible says about restoration. I say this because based on our conversation before we started the interview, you're very big on God. And even as we bring this to a close, maybe I'll ask you about it and how God has been a pillar in your life. But I just want to tell you restoration. You may lose a lot, but when God finally restores, utapenda. Think about Job. He lost a lot, but towards the end of the chapter, the Bible says that God gave him twice as much. So maybe that was him restoring.
That was him, and my baby has not been having those underweight baby issues. Like every month we go, like when you're a mom, moms know, every month you have to go for some jab. Especially like for us, we do, we call them baby friendly jabs. So as we go every month. So I was like so happy. Every month you go, my baby has gained a whole kilo.
Wow.
Every month you go, my baby has gained a whole kilo. And it was, even the doctor was like, Mom, you're doing a good job.
Oh, wow.
Like, the joy of every mom is when their baby is gaining weight. You will know when you get there. So my baby is doing okay. And that time when I was pregnant also, like God was putting in my heart to, it's something that I wanted to do, but because of fear, you don't want to do. Because what will people say? Then you start thinking about your weaknesses. I once had an accent. Am I good enough? Those fear. But this time, I decided to go and launch my company, register my company, a media company, and I honestly would say it's doing better than companies that have been there for even over 5 years.
Congratulations, girl.
Yes.
Love that. I see the sun trying to catch up with you. But let's talk about God, even as we conclude. The importance of having God as your foundation, having God in the center of everything.
If I didn't have God, if I didn't get born again, I would have committed suicide. There was a time I wanted to commit suicide. When my mom died that night. I was living, like I told you, my auntie still had a house in Mombasa. So we stayed at her house. I sneaked out of the house because I was sleeping in the sitting room. So nobody would hear that I'm not there or I'm sleeping in the couch or I'm not there. So I went out and I said, who are living in Mtwapa. So I wanted to go to the ocean and throw myself there because I didn't see my mom. I had literally made my mom my God. Without knowing. My mom was my God, everything I needed. So where do I start now? Then I went, there was a construction. I said, let me start here. Then I sat there and then I slept. And then I started like seeing, like it was like a vision or something. I know people talk about visions and so they think people are lying. But this is just a personal encounter. That time I didn't know what it was because I didn't know who God was, what he was about. I didn't know all those things. But I was sleeping and I had a dream, someone holding my hand. Someone holding my hand, someone waking me up. So when I opened my eyes, Grace, I saw two men coming towards me. They wanted to rape me.
Oh no.
So I ran. Then they ran after me. I ran. Then there was, when I ran, there was a boda person on the road and he knew my uncle. So I was like, Panda, but they have that Swahili accent.
Yes.
we panda nikupeleke nyumbani, unafanya nini nje usiku? That's how like we lost the people. I went back. It was a Saturday. Then on Sunday, I was just walking. I didn't want to stay in the house. I was just walking. Then I met my brother's youth pastor. Then he's like, where are you going? I said, I don't know. He told me, let's go to church. I told him, now look at how I am. I'll come next Sunday. I promise. Then that pastor came to my mom's burial. So I knew him and he knew me. Though I was not going to that church. So that's when I got born again. I started going to church. And I even became praise and worship leader, by the way. Then I became the youth leader. Before, of course, I came to Nairobi to look for work. So if it were not for God, and then I've seen God, like literally, the Bible says he's the father to the fatherless. Like he's been my father. Yeah. Let me tell you, I came to Nairobi. I said, my brother was in Nairobi because he was in Nairobi University. Yeah. So he was staying in Nairobi. I was living with him. And something told me, I fasted and prayed. Somebody told me to just walk into Ebru, like just look at Ebru. And I didn't know what this station, I didn't know there's a station called Ebru. Yeah. So I scrolled and I saw Ebru TV. I saw someone reading news and everything. And I just said, you know what? It was a Thursday. Tomorrow, I will go there, Friday. Then some doubts came. No, what will they say? What? So I postponed with a week. But then I just, like something on Thursday, somebody told me tomorrow you must go. So I woke up and went. I didn't even know where it was. I was using Google. So I went to Lavington. Of course, you're not driving, yeah? I went to Lavington. I asked the border guys there. They told me they know where Ebru TV is. So I went at the gate and the favor of God. That's what I was telling you about, the favor of God. I went there and the gate man said, no one has given me such a warm smile that you have given me. Wow. How can I help you? I had not even greeted him. I just like smiled and walked towards him. I told him, honestly, I'm looking for a place to volunteer. Yeah. Then as we spoke, he was like, okay, the HR is coming. Here is the HR. Then I was not even talking. He talked on my behalf. Wow. He doesn't even know my name at this point. So this lady, she's looking for, please help her. She's a nice lady. Please help her. So the child is like, okay, what's your name? What can you? So I told him, my name is so-and-so. I'm looking for a place to volunteer. Then as we spoke, he's like, okay, me, I'm going out, but the deputy editor-in-chief is coming. Let me introduce you to him. Imagine. Then the deputy editor-in-chief, I see him. It was the guy who was reading news last night. So I was excited.
Oh, look at that.
So I'm like, oh my God, I saw you last night. What? So he booked me now. No, everything is happening at the gate. So he booked me to get into the compound. Yes. So he booked me to get into the compound. Then we talked. They have a gazebo there. Then we talked. Then he was like, let me call the editor-in-chief. Then he called the editor-in-chief. Just like this. Within a span of 1 hour. You've not even heard the story. Ooh, the editor-in-chief comes and then he asked me, what can you offer? And then, I had done a research. Yeah. I told him we don't have a health desk. I could be reporting on health. When I mentioned that, he told me, let me take you to the CEO. Yes, Grace, I am not lying. The people who have worked at Ebru, they will be watching this and they know my story. Wow. The CEO was Turkish. I went to his office. He listened to me. He gave me a script. Go and read. Go and
on
voice.
Air or
no, to go and voice, like voicing, not anchoring as a reporter. Yes. So I went, voiced. Then he told the editor-in-chief, I think she can start. It was a Friday. I was told, come tomorrow.
Saturday.
Yes. So that time I was told to volunteer, but I was volunteering on weekends only. So I was volunteering Saturday and Sunday. So I prayed to God that, you know what, I have to go to church. Please help me. I volunteered only one weekend. The next weekend, the editor-in-chief told me, you cannot join the rest of the team. Like, be reporting Monday to Saturday, then take your Sunday day off. That's not even it. I was doing stories on health. Within a span of 3 months, I was given a health show to host. They were looking for someone to host a health show, and I am the health reporter there. Yeah. So that's how I started reading news. I started hosting the show. Then same year, December, the anchor on duty fell ill. And then what happened? The CEO comes to the office,
asks you to sit in,
and says, "You look like you can go on air." Because me, I wanted to be a news anchor. Grace, you have to dress and look the way
the part.
Yeah, you have to. So my outfits were on air outfits. It doesn't matter. Like I would go to Ngara and buy those 250. You know them.
Yeah,
to dress those outfits and the cord, those ones. That's why I went on air. And after I went on air, they were like, they told the editor in chief, you can put her on the rota to be reading news. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
You know, the Bible says the steps of a righteous, the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord.
Yes.
The Lord ordered you to go to Hebrew that particular day.
Yes. And people are telling me, when I, sometimes I say, Grace, don't share your vision with people. They will discourage you. People are giving me scenarios. Like for me, I want to be a news anchor. You have to be a reporter for at least 3 years. I was not a reporter
I've heard that as well.
Yes. There are those structures, there are those procedures, but God doesn't follow procedures. Yeah, he does not.
He doesn't.
I was on air in 3 months. Then from there, that's why I even did a post, let opportunities look for you, but as you pray. From there, I did my intern at KBC. So in 2018, one of the mentors called me and told me, baby, KBC is hiring anchors. Would you be interested? I said, yes, bring your papers. That's how I got work at KBC. Then I stayed at KBC, and then it gets to a point where the Lord tells me, it's your time to move. So I remember in 2022, I was even like telling my husband, that time we were engaged. I feel like it's, as we before I do the wedding, I feel like it's my time for a new beginning. Even as a wife, yes, but I feel like I need to move career-wise. And someone called me from KTN, like, would you be interested? That time I was not even subjected to any screen test. Just bring your papers and come for HR interview. That's how I got that opportunity. In a span of, I don't know, I would say how many, I've worked in all the mainstream medias and I've gained all the experience. I feel like God was preparing me for my media empire, which there are big things coming. I'll be launching my own. You see, like, from being told I'm reading news with accent, and
they teased you for having the kamba accent.
Yes, I was pulled out of screen, and then they were fired, and then I was back on screen still at Hebrew. Yeah, the people that were saying I have an accent, they all left. Then I was back on screen. So I was like, God, use my story to inspire someone, because I'm building a media empire, and very soon I'll be a media owner. I'm telling you, we are working a lot. Like, I have a team that is dedicated and working a lot. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Me, I went to school in Shags, like a school that if I pronounce, you'll not remember the name.
Let's not.
You will not remember the name. But it doesn't, we are not, some people are not privileged than us. Me, I'll say I'm privileged because I have Jesus in me.
Come on.
I am privileged. Yeah, because the hand of the Lord is on me, and I always tell him to hide me under the shadow of his wings. So that is the privilege that we have. But apart from that, for Christians watching this, Grace, there's a problem we have. We want miracles to happen when we are not playing our part.
We're not putting in the work.
When you're not putting in the work. If God favors you, and the answer for you is yes. God favored you, you got an opportunity at NTV. You went there, and you are prepared. So when you're prepared and you can deliver, now the favor of God makes them to pick you. But don't expect the favor of God to work where you have not worked.
Put in the effort.
Yes, faith without action, without work, it will not work. So let's put in the hard work. You see the people of the world, they work so hard.
They don't rest.
They don't even rest. But us, what do we do?
Oh, God will make it happen.
God will make a way while we are just like sitting and doing nothing. Poverty will just come. Yeah.
I feel like you've already given the pattern shot.
Yes.
But maybe you'll give something small. But something else I get from her story is there's God's favor, but there's also obedience.
Yes.
And sometimes the obedience of the Lord is very uncomfortable. He could be asking you to quit that $1 million job.
Yes.
But are you confident in him to actually take that step of faith and
imagine
be like, because God has said,
quitting a job where I'm a news anchor, everyone sees you at
everyone sees you at prime time.
prime time and everyone wants to be like, oh my God, she's on TV. You know, the way like you are a quote in quote a celeb.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? I'm posing all this because God has told me to do that.
Yeah. Comes with obedience.
Yeah.
So I love that. Now do you have it? Okay, now give us at least one verse of encouragement as we close this.
Okay. The one verse that I will give, it is, I think, the Second Kings. Second Kings, and I'll give two. Allow me to give two because they are related.
Okay.
Second Kings and also the book of Exodus. Two stories here. The book in second, let me start with the Second Kings, about the story of the 4 lepers. The story of the 4 lepers. They said to themselves, if we sit here, there was famine in the land. If we sit here, we only have one option, to die. But if we go to the camp of the Philistines, we have 2 options. They might either kill us or spare us. So we have 2 options. So we'd rather go, because either way, here we don't have another option. So the moment they took that step of faith, what did God do? He made, imagine lepers, like how you are walking. He made their foot feel like the foot of chariots. So the enemies ran away. The soldiers in the camp ran away. They left everything to them. So by the time the 4 lepers were getting into the camp, there was food, there was everything. They ate, they had made, and they lived. So unless you take that one step, God will not work.
Come on.
Because God wants to see that faith by you acting, by you starting that podcast in your living room, in your bed sitter, with your phone, when you don't have any money for makeup, any money for cameras like this. And then he will make a way. The book of Exodus, it was when the Moses was hearing taking the children of Israel from Egypt.
Yes.
So it got to a point where the enemy is so close and there is the Red Sea. God parted. He made a way. The children of Israel were walking like the water
like
walls to them. Yeah. And he told them, do not be afraid, be still and see the salvation of the Lord. The Egyptians you see today,
you will see them
no more.
Come on, girl.
So when you take that step of faith, the poverty that you're seeing today, the problems living in, by the way, did I tell you I lived in Kibera? How did I forget to tell you that I lived in Kibera?
You did?
Yes, I lived in Kibera. I was people don't want to put in the work. I was putting in the work. When I was doing my internship at KBC, where did I stay? In Kibera. I was staying with a friend of mine. She's called Joyce. We met recently. We were paying 1,000
rent,
and still I couldn't afford 500 to give her. So at the end of the month, I tell her I don't have anything. She tells me, it's okay, sister, I'll pay. I've lived in Kibera. When it rained, Joyce, God bless you, we would put the suitcases like this and then we stand because the house is leaking.
Oh no.
Yes, the sewage is getting into our house. But I had to pay the price of being where I am today. So God was telling me, don't worry, all this sewage you're seeing now,
you'll see it no more.
You'll see them no more. I live in my own house today. I don't pay rent.
Praise be to God.
Yeah. So be still and know that he is God. He's fighting for us, but all he needs is for us to take that step of faith. He was fighting for the 4 lepers. What they did, they took the step of faith. And that's where we read about them. God made their steps, their feet to feel like chariots. And the enemies flew. But if they stayed there, God would not have done anything. He's waiting for you to move. He's given you ideas. He's waiting for you to overcome that fear and start executing with what you have. He told Moses, what do you have? What do you have in your hand? This stick, okay, drop it down. It became a snake. He worked a miracle with what Moses had in his hand. So God will not work a miracle with what you do not have.
You heard it?
Yes. That's to young people. Yeah. Use what you have. Don't fake it. Don't fake it and go. The Bible says, I am the lender and not the borrower.
That's is it Deuteronomy?
Yes.
Yes, it says you will lend to nations and you'll not
And
borrow
not
from
borrow.
any.
So Christians, let's not borrowing. You become a slave to the person that you borrow from. Use what you have. Okay? I was doing a vlog. Not is social media. You can do a blog. There are free ways of even to start a website. You probably will need some 3,000 for domain and hosting, or 4,000. If you can't do that, opening a YouTube channel is free, for example. You only need a Gmail account and you're there. Don't wait for miracles to happen. Let's say, for example, you want your videos to have million views. Are you consistent?
Are you?
Yeah. Are you consistent? You just want a miracle to happen when you're not working. God works miracles when you take the first step, Grace. Yes.
I love that. There's so much to unpack from here. There's so much to get from here. I don't know what you've gotten, but I love what you've said.
Yeah.
Don't allow the challenges you're experiencing right now to hold you hostage, because again, the Egyptians you see today,
Yes,
you'll see them no more. I honestly feel like I can't even add anything else. I just want to say mic drop. And yeah, just appreciate you so much for, I think before I even wrap it up, how can people connect with you on social media?
On social media,
Yes.
I'm very active, like you said, on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Purity Museo Nzuki. On Instagram, I am Purity Museo. On Twitter, Purity_Museo. By the way, for my company, what we do, I'll help. Now, you've heard my stories from ground up.
Yeah,
So I decided my company will be doing the same, helping you grow, thrive from ground up. Yeah, through effective communication, written, graphic, and video content, and strategic media relations. I'm currently, last week I introduced a course, Grow Your Brand in 10 Days. Imagine like hearing, knowing how to grow what I've gone through in so many years, hearing it in 10 days and supporting you to become a better person. Grace, there are people who are house helps with, they are still house helps today. I am telling you, they are my friends. They are still house helps today. Yeah, there are people, and I am not. So it's a personal decision you take to grow and to position yourself, even when you do not have anything, to a place where God places you, in a place where now you can invest more on your brand. So don't wait until you have millions so that you can start. You'll not even have a brand that time. I want to show you how to start from where you are without anything, even living in Kibera, living whatever you are, but to become authentic, and people appreciate you, and people buy you, buy your story, and buy whatever that you're trying to sell.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that we've had this interview in the first quarter of the year, because I think it's still that time where we trying to find our bearing as pertains a year. But I really hope you've learned a lot. You've grabbed a lot from this interview. Sorry. My name is Susan Grace. Thank you so much for keeping us company. I'll see you in the next episode of A Woman's Journal.